Hello, my name is Jason Dovel. I'm a member of the International Trumpet Guild Board of Directors, and I'm also the trumpet professor at the University of Kentucky. The trumpet that I'm playing today is one you may not have seen before. It has no valves. It's often called the Baroque trumpet, sometimes called the natural trumpet. This instrument was made by Rainer Egger, and it's what we call a three-hole Baroque trumpet. It has 3 vent holes. I have a couple of other Baroque trumpets to show you. This one was made by Michael Munkovitz. It's actually set up as a natural trumpet with no holes at all, but this pipe right here can be removed, and I have several other pipes that have 4 holes that can go in this place to be a 4-hole Baroque trumpet. And the third Baroque trumpet that I'll show you, this one's made by Brass for Beginners. If you watch this video and you're curious, this would be a great place to start. These have 4 holes, and I have a number of students who use these here at the University of Kentucky when they're just getting started. They play very well. While today we often call any trumpet that looks like this a Baroque trumpet, in truth, trumpets were designed like this around 1400 and continue to be used in this configuration all the way through the 1800s. Around 1400, instrument builders discovered a good way of bending tubing. Prior to this, trumpets were often in a straight configuration. But in 1400, they got the idea of filling brass tubing with lead, bending it in the shape they wanted, and then drawing off the lead, since lead has a lower boiling point than brass. What I played for you at the beginning of this video was an excerpt from Fantini's trumpet treatise that he wrote in 1638. He's a really important Italian trumpet player. And there are several other treatises that are really important to check out. A couple I would recommend is Bendinelli's treatise from 1614, the Altenburg from 1795, and the John Hyde trumpet treatise from 1799. Anytime you learn a new instrument or trying to get better at the instrument you play, it's important to have good role models and good references. Several of my favorite Baroque trumpet players that I would encourage you to check out on YouTube or on Spotify or iTunes would include Friedemann Emmer, who's a German Baroque trumpet player, John Foster, who's an Australian Baroque trumpet player, Anna Freeman, who is an Australian but lives in Germany and teaches and plays in Germany, Crispy and Steele Perkins, who's an English Baroque trumpet player, and then one particularly fascinating player is Jean-Francois Madouf, who teaches at the Schola Cantorum in Basel. He's an expert at playing with no holes, without using any vent holes. So be sure to check out Madouf on YouTube. Just really impressive and wonderful playing. So I want to talk a little bit about Baroque trumpet pedagogy and some of the reasons why you might want to pick up this instrument. One of the biggest is articulation. Often on modern trumpet, we spend a lot of time trying to equalize our articulation and use the same articulation for every note. But often on a Baroque trumpet, that is not what we want to do. In fact, nearly all the treatises that we find talk about unequal articulation, borrowing our articulation from the violins. String players, even today, but particularly in the Baroque, recognize the difference between the down bow, which is stronger, and the up bow, which is weaker. And what we try to do on the Baroque trumpet is mimic that strong, weak, strong, weak. And so all these treatises will say things like, instead of 2, 2, 2, 2, to practice going 2, do, 2, do. In the 1795 Altenburg treatise, he takes it even a step further and says to play the first note forte, the second note piano, the third note forte, the fourth note piano, etc. The point of it is we're really making a difference between strong and weak, strong and weak. So using articulations that match what string players would do. And this is something that can affect us even if we're playing a modern trumpet, like on the piccolo trumpet. Because when we play Baroque repertoire on the piccolo trumpet, it may not be the best idea to give equal articulation to every note. Another fun thing about Baroque music are the ornaments. And I want to talk a little bit about trills and trills. If you see the TR marking in Baroque music, it may not necessarily mean a trill. In fact, the composer that I'm playing from, Fantini, he specifically says when you CTR to play a trillo, which is a huffing on a single repeated pitch. I'll play you another excerpt from that same book that demonstrates a trillo. If I didn't know better and I saw the TR, I might do this. When we do trills on the Baroque trumpet, they're always lip trills, or tongue trills, if you like to call them that, because there's no valves, and so you have to always do it here. A little side note, there is no such thing as the Baroque trill. I hear a lot of young students say, yeah, I'm going to do a Baroque trill on this note, or this piece is from the Baroque, so I'll have to do a Baroque trill. There is no singular way of doing a Baroque trill. There are some great rules of thumb in Ed Tarr's book, The Art of Baroque Trumpet Playing, Volume 1. Somewhere, I think it's around page 50 or 55, he has rules of thumb for trilling. Things like early Italian will be lower note trills, late German will be upper note trills, and all sorts of other rules. A lot of our Baroque repertoire is late German, like all the works of Bach, like the B minor Mass and Christmas Oratorio. Even works like Handel's Messiah are late, middle of the 18th century. So those works, it probably does make sense to do upper note trills, which is why maybe a lot of people call the Baroque trill the upper note trill. But there's really no one way to do a Baroque trill, and you need to consider things like the composer, the time period, the specific time period within the Baroque, as well as the place of origin or the country. I think there are a lot of reasons why you should check out the Baroque trumpet and study early music. Of course, number one on my list would be recreating the sound that composers heard. When Bach and Vivaldi and Handel and Purcell wrote music, this is the instrument they had in mind, not the modern piccolo trumpet. I love to play the piccolo trumpet, but that is not the sound concept that Bach had in mind. The second reason to study Baroque trumpet and early music is the idea of informing yourself a little bit more, being a scuba diver, getting below the surface, not just being a water skier who skims the surface, and getting down into those nitty-gritty detail in primary sources. I've already mentioned 4 trumpet treatises, but there are many, many other treatises. If you're interested in ornamentation, there are many ornamentation treatises you can check out, like Ortiz, Ganassi, Bassano, and many others. There are great treatises of other instruments. The Quantz treatise, the essay on how to play flute, is one of the most important treatises that I use in my teaching here at UK on Baroque music. The third reason to play Baroque trumpet is it improves our ear through tuning and temperaments. When I play Baroque trumpet, often if I'm playing in a period instrument orchestra, we are not playing at equal temperament. We are playing in things like Volati, mean tone, Werkmeister, and these temperaments all have more pure intervals, purer thirds, and purer fifths, and this is much different than, say, playing a modern trumpet sonata with piano, or playing in an ensemble where people have equal temperament in their mind. So it teaches us to play more in tune. Lastly, the fourth reason I would encourage you to explore Baroque trumpet, it can improve your modern playing. Like I said, I love to play piccolo trumpet, and now when I play piccolo trumpet in a brass quintet or with a modern orchestra, it informs my concept and my interpretation. And quite frankly, it's often easier than playing Baroque trumpet, so it feels much easier after playing with no valves and all the challenges of the Baroque trumpet, which is 4 times as long as a piccolo trumpet. Then going to the piccolo trumpet makes it seem quite a bit easier. I hope this video has been helpful for you. I'm going to give you a couple of resources, 5 resources to check out if you want some more information. First is the Ed Tarr series, The Art of Baroque Trumpet Playing. There are 3 volumes of those. They're a must-have for anyone who wants to learn the Baroque trumpet. Second is a really good style manual by a modern author, Robert Donington's Baroque Music, Style, and Performance, published by Norton in 1982. My favorite Baroque treatise that's not a specific, or a modern book, I should say, about Baroque music is Mary Sears' Performing Baroque Music, published by Amadeus Press in 1992. It's a great book. I use it here at UK with my students who are taking performance practice classes. And then lastly, 2 books by a modern Baroque trumpet player, someone who's living, that are really great. John Foster's The Baroque Trumpet Revival, published by Hickman Music Editions. That traces what's happened in the 20th and 21st century and tells you history about these people I've mentioned, like Friedemann Emmer and Anna Freeman, and others like Edward Tarr, and the history of how they resurrected the Baroque trumpet sound. And lastly, a book called Natural Trumpet and Other Related Instruments, also by John Foster. It's a great book, has fingering charts and a lot of great pedagogical information for the Baroque trumpet. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm very easy to access via email.